Hello! Hello!
What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering. I hope you're having a wonderful Wednesday. I'm still in recovery mode from last night a little bit, but it certainly feels good to open up the web browser and find that Netflix is suffering and suffering greatly. In fact, an 85% drop from the same period last year. It's almost as if producing the world's most garbage content hasn't been a great marketing move for them. I've said for a long time, Netflix is content. It's not movies, it's not entertainment, or it's not films, it's content. It's stuff you would never watch otherwise, but you do because you feel like you've gotten such a good deal on it. And over the years, Netflix does have the occasional breakout hit like The Tiger King or, Stranger Things. There are, not everything's garbage on that platform, but certainly there are fewer peanuts in the proverbial turd that is Netflix. And you have this article dropping this morning. Netflix subscriber growth has slowed dramatically, and they blame competition and the lockdown. Imagine blaming the number one reason that you should be growing as the reason for its slowing. Now, maybe you can make the argument that you pulled ahead a little bit, like people signed up last year because they had nothing else to do. But this is some brutal numbers, and their stock has absolutely tanked today. Although technically it was earlier, down 21 points. Let's see if it's still down. Going on 22 points now, so it continues to fall. Netflix subscriber growth slowed dramatically in the second quarter as the surge in streaming subscriptions from the lockdowns petered out, competition increased, and the company considered new and interesting ways to grow its business. They're looking at getting into streaming video games. I guess they already have all these customers, all their billing information. We could talk about that in a minute. I got Dr. Disrespect's take on it yesterday, and we'll talk about that. But the streaming giant added a mere 1.5 million paying customers globally in the second quarter, which is down 85% from the same period last year when it reported 10.1 million subscriber additions. The company also added 61% fewer subscriptions than it did in the first quarter of the year, when it already missed projections of 3.98 million accounts. In the US and Canada, Netflix lost 430,000 paid memberships in the second quarter. Think about that. That's 500,000 people dropping off your service. These are huge numbers. Why? Because Netflix sucks. By the way, if you agree that Netflix sucks, make sure you click that like button on this video. And if you haven't yet, please do consider it a personal favor to me. If you haven't yet, please click that red subscribe button down below the video. It's really the only way you'll find my videos. And it seems like when people actually sign up and subscribe, it seems like YouTube is a little more likely to recommend my videos. So, I'm still trying to figure that out exactly, but it's a chicken and an egg scenario. But yes, please do. So losing, they lost 430,000. Now, although down significantly, the results were better than the 1.15 million subscribers Wall Street analysts expected. Except that seems odd given how far the stock is dropping. Now, if we look at the trend, obviously this is a massive drop from Tuesday down, but it's been dropping all week. We're when it reached its peak of $548 in the middle of July, it's all the way down to 510. So it's down nearly, 30 out of 5. It's about 15%. Is that right? It's down about 15%. And that's not great, obviously. So the lockdowns drove millions of people to sign up for Netflix subscriptions to binge watch their way through the lockdowns, resulting in record numbers for the company. But with in-person entertainment options open once again, analysts expect people will spend less time with Netflix than earlier in the pandemic. And let me actually point this out too. I think that let me offer some financial advice. Once a month, or maybe once every 3 months, you should always go through your credit card statements and see the stuff that you're paying for every month and ask yourself if you're still using it. Like if you haven't logged into Disney Plus or Netflix, stop giving them money. If you want to really watch Stranger Things, or there's some other show on Netflix you're really into, sign up for a month, watch it, and then remember to cancel. These companies rely on your passive income. They're like gym memberships. There was a time in my life where I realized I was spending like $80 a month on stuff that I just wasn't using anymore. And every time I go back and check every once in a while, there's almost always something that I can trim off. It might not seem like a lot of money in the grand scheme of things, but it's extra money in your pocket. You could put it in the bank. It adds up. Now, lockdowns also delayed the production of TVs and movies that typically fuel Netflix growth. Meanwhile, competition in the so-called streaming battle has heated up with the growth of streaming platforms like Disney Plus and HBO Max. By the way, I think HBO Max is probably, it's going to vary on what your individual watching habits are. Like if you have young kids, you want access to Disney Plus, that's probably the highest value for you. For me, HBO Max, you get a handful of same-day movie releases that you don't have to pay extra money for, and they actually have a pretty decent catalog. Now they're trying to attract users and filmmaking talent. Netflix downplayed the effect of rivalries, citing Nielsen research saying that streaming services represent just 27% of the U.S. TV screen time, giving the company plenty of room to grow. However, analysts said the competition has put some pressure on Netflix as it tries to defend its position as the biggest streaming company, now with more than 209 million paying customers. Competition in the United States seems to have finally arrived in a meaningful form, given the backdrop of so many new streaming apps and Discovery and Warner Media merger, as Netflix has actually lost subscribers in the United States and Canada region for the first time in many quarters. Jack McCormick, senior analyst at investment research firm that the Third Bridge in New York, said in an email, Netflix forecasts the third quarter would bring 3.5 million subscribers. Shares declined slightly after hours trading, after closing Tuesday down $1.23. Now, their revenue rose because they raised the prices, obviously. With subscription growth slowing, streaming services are trying to grow by spending billions on exclusive movies and TV shows to draw viewers in and get them hooked so they don't cancel. That's what I'm talking about. Make sure you stay active on the things that you're paying for every month and get out of there. There's nothing, you're not going to miss anything, first of all. And I bet you if you just cancel it, you'll realize, hey, I was just watching garbage anyway. I know that, watching, Seeking Sister Wives is a guilty pleasure of mine, but I'm pretty sure I could live without it. And whatever your version of trash TV is that you just put on in the background. I'm still paying for Hulu, and I realized that, I basically just use it for playing Bob's Burgers for my dogs when they're in the kennels. So, that's $50 a month that I'm just throwing away. So I've almost talked myself into canceling that now too. I pretty much just watch YouTube. So the company's obviously spending big. But detractors say the company's fire hose strategy of producing content prioritizes quantity over quality. The service has created plenty of buzzy shows that have garnered critical acclaim. They had 129 Emmy nominations for its shows, including Bridgerton, The Crown, Cobra Kai, which is good, Emily in Paris, The Kominsky Method. I don't really know that. Netflix was barely topped by Warner Media's combined 130 nominations for HBO and HBO Max. Netflix must rely more on original content as rival entertainment companies bring more of their shows and movies back home to put on their own streaming services. Popular services like Friends and The Office once were big draws for Netflix. Not anymore. Co-chief Ted Sarandos said in an interview broadcast on YouTube that the company copes with the loss of popular licensed studio programming by creating exciting originals. But they don't. Their originals are trash. I mean, the movie about the 8-year-old dance troupe and the coming of age tale, that's the original content that Netflix is putting out. They're adapting beloved shows. I mean, Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead was not a good movie. And that was a big deal for Netflix. I mean, I just, they cut out, obviously, they made a last second talent switch because of the current cancellation of, why can't I think of his name right now? Oh, Chris D'Elia. But I didn't think that movie was really noteworthy. It didn't review that well. The Kevin Hart comedy, dramedy, Fatherhood, and the family comedy, The Mitchells versus the Machines, which Netflix says was the company's most watched original animated movie to date. Never heard of it even. Last month, Netflix signed a multi-year deal with Steven Spielberg's Amblin Partners to supply the streamer with multiple new films every year. The deal was notable in part because of its relationship between Netflix and the Oscar winner was once strained. I don't really care. I hate Netflix. I think that they are a plight on quality content. Now, their video game streaming service, says we don't have to think about ads. We don't have to think about in-game purchases or other monetization. Yeah, I mean, the idea that they might move to gaming isn't a bad idea. The company's latest earnings report, Chief Product Officer Greg Peters jumped on Investor Phone Call to talk about loads of things. Yeah, except we've seen this before. Just because you have a platform doesn't mean that game streaming and stuff like that is gonna work. You essentially have, Mixer as a streaming platform didn't work. Now, if they're going to make video games, and provide video games for your money, okay, this is just a value add. I suppose that's good to hear if you're paying for Netflix, but you probably shouldn't be paying for Netflix. Hope you enjoyed this video. I know I did. We'll talk to you again real soon.